Are you the binding on each page? Are you the thread that ties all humankind through every age? Are you the forest and the rain, the blossoms and the waves? Come out from your cloud, Mother, where art thou?
Welcome, Dr. Julie Hanks, to the In Her Image podcast. We are so excited that you've agreed to be on this interview. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for the invitation, Jess and Kate.
Of course. Dr. Julie Hanks is such an inspirational woman to us. She is a licensed therapist, a coach, a relationship expert, online influencer, and content creator. We love your content on Instagram so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you have been working with families, couples, and women in particular for almost 30 years, which is really amazing. Inside and outside the church, is that true?
Yeah, but primarily I've been practicing in Utah. So a large percentage of the population that I've worked with through the years have been associated with the LDS Church in some way.
Wonderful. So this will be very applicable to our listener base. And we love what you post about women, about equality, about partnership, and about Heavenly Mother. Every time I see that name, I just get so excited. Yes, this is important. This is important for the women. So just in a little blurb, what are you most passionate with in your work with women in the church?
I am passionate about, kind of twofold. Women stepping into their power and changing the structure to embrace women's power and authority.
Love that. Love that so much. And it's not quite as simple, right? Or as easy as it sounds.
Right. That's in a nutshell, but yeah, really complicated in real life.
Yeah. Okay. And then we're curious as well to know, what is your personal experience with Heavenly Mother? How does she tie into this for you? And how did you conclude that including her could be beneficial in that mission statement?
I'm trying to recall. I believe the first time I really started thinking about Heavenly Mother was after I saw a play by Carolyn Pearson called Mother Wove the Morning. And I don't recall my age, but it struck me how absent Heavenly Mother was from our daily conversations, from our, we have like the framework of theology, but it hasn't been fleshed out. So that got me thinking a lot about Heavenly Mother. And this was decades ago. I don't remember when it came out, but.
Did you see it live or did you
watch
the video?
Carolyn is a dear friend of our family. So I think that's probably, we were invited or something like that.
Very cool.
But then I really started digging deeper when I was working on my PhD, and that was in 2012. And it was a really interesting experience because I ended up studying for my dissertation cultural transformation theory, which is where the partnership model comes from. And in ancient societies, I was learning like there's female goddesses and there's evidence of female deity all throughout history, and somehow we've lost it. And so during that time of studying, I was, the essay on Heavenly Mother also came out, that the Latter-day Saint Church's essay. And I just had this longing to reconnect to her. And I realized in this process of doing my dissertation, my study was creative productivity of mothers. So how to support creative productivity of mothers. And I realized that I had discounted the feminine contributions in my life and my own contributions and my mom's contributions. And I realized that part of that was because We haven't valued partnership and female deity on the highest level. And so it allows us to devalue women and women's contributions on an earthly level. And
wow.
So it's kind of, I've just been wrestling with that. And I started including her in my personal prayer. And I had an experience a few years ago where she answered a prayer and I knew it was her. It was a feminine response and answer, and I knew it was her. And it was beautiful and so comforting to know she's there.
Wow. Yeah, it as a callback to what you said was your passion was to have women step into their power.
Mm-hmm.
That's what stood out to me. And it kind of sounds like Heavenly Mother is at the root of all of that. If we don't value Heavenly Mother, then how can we value the women in our lives or ourselves and our contribution? Mm-hmm. If the ultimate feminine deity, we don't recognize her contribution, then how can we recognize our own? And so It sounds like it's very tied in to what you're passionate, what you're trying to help women do.
Right. And she's calling to women in particular to speak up about her. I mean, obviously you have this podcast, right? She's calling individual women to speak up.
I believe that's true. And I think the big question is, are we listening? Mm-hmm. Are we listening when we feel called? And are we listening when somebody speaks up for her and somebody shares an experience? Do we believe? Do we value and trust their experience and try to figure out how we can integrate it, or kind of brush that off? So I think we'll see how we as a church handle that. And I'm praying that we can be, have soft hearts and open minds and allow those words and inspirations to flow through us.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I kind of wanted to draw on your perspective as someone who works with a lot of different family situations, and as a non-expert myself, I kind of have a guess, but I would like to know, what are some of the emotional or psychological effects that someone might have if they have an absent mother, just earthly mother in their home? How might we see that?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard the term mother wound before.
Yeah. And there's some similarities in losing a father too, as losing a mother. And those are a sense of abandonment. And women tend to question their worth. Why aren't they here? Is it because I'm not enough? Because I'm not good enough? There's also a sense, I think, of being under-nurtured. I didn't get the nurturing that I wanted from a female figure. And there are dads who do a great job parenting solo. And you're still if you don't have a mom, you're missing that part. So yeah, an emptiness, a lack of role model, of someone to look to go to for uniquely feminine questions or topics. An earthly mother is our model for how to be a grown-up. So if we don't have that, we're missing that model. And then you can take that to the next level. If we don't have a heavenly mother, we're missing that model. And I don't think it's sufficient just to say, well, she exists. And no, we need to know, so we know our potential and we know how to get there and what that will be.
I agree. I think that's so important. And even though we haven't heard maybe a lot of accounts of the Father, even just knowing and hearing it said that He created, that He blesses, that He hears our prayers. Maybe we don't know a lot of specific things about His role versus her role, but I think that we can say a lot more about her than we currently do, especially if we believe, like we say in the church essay, that our parents are equal and that she has power and glory and might, then I think it's safe to say that she participates in a lot of the same work that he does. So even just including her in those things that we usually solely attribute to him can help us to have a view of, oh, okay, this could be involved in my destiny as well.
Yeah, I encourage all men when they ask me, what can I do as a male to support women in the church? I say, talk about Heavenly Mother. Say Heavenly Parents when you mean God the Parents. Like if you're talking about God the Father, then, use God or Heavenly Father. But if you're talking about God, it's plural and it includes her, and say Heavenly Mother, Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother. That's like the single most important thing you can do, because that then opens up a path for women to have more value and more voice in the church.
It's amazing how something so tiny can make such a big difference, but it really does. I know it does for me when I hear that spoken over the pulpit, when I hear Heavenly Parents. I notice that. I notice it right away, and I feel so much more, it feels more whole and more correct. So yeah, such an easy thing that any of us can do. And kind of along the same lines, why would someone with a good earthly mother, I have a great relationship with my mom. I love her. She's a beautiful model for me. Why do you think I might still crave that relationship with a heavenly mother too?
Because our earthly mother can only model earthly female existence. A heavenly mother offers a model for eternal existence.
Yeah. And if our job is to become like God, then we have to follow a godly pattern. So I love that. I loved seeing, I've always kind of seen like what my mother was. My mother has like very beautiful curly hair, and I've always felt like that's the epitome of beauty, right? Like I want to have curly hair just like her, and I'll work so hard to do it, even though it's just wavy. But that's the earthly level of like, yeah, I want to be like that. But if I don't have anyone that shows me complete perfection and power in my form, then how can I emulate it, really?
Yeah.
And I feel like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like once I see that my whole life, I said, I'm a daughter, my whole, teenage years, I'm a daughter of Heavenly Father who loves me and I love him. I go, well, that's true. And I still love that truth, but I'm a daughter of Heavenly Mother too. And that's just different for me. So, and as I've learned about Heavenly Mother, it has allowed me to lean into my personal spiritual authority, which is something that you talk about. And so how do you think that learning about Heavenly Mother could help women claim that, or how have you seen women do that in this journey?
So if we have heavenly parents who are equal in power and glory and influence and everything else, then we have that potential in us. And we have seeds of that power and glory and authority. And so knowing that, we can claim that. It kind of gives permission to, when there's only a male, when there's only a male figure, it gives men permission to claim theirs, right? And that's what's missing. I think, one of the things that's missing in the church is that we don't have those strong models of men and women working together with equal power, authority, strength, might, all of that. So it gives us a model for claiming our own authority now and potential authority in the future.
That is powerful and exciting. It's a little bit terrifying, I'm not going to lie, but also exciting. And it's definitely, I think, going to be a learning curve if we haven't had opportunities in the past to truly exercise leadership and equal authority. I think we're going to see a big learning curve there where we have to give women those opportunities and allow them to make mistakes and to grow and to try.
Mm-hmm.
But as we do that, I think we will see so many positive outcomes for everybody involved.
Yeah.
It can ease the burden, right, on the male leadership to have more help, more ideas, more creativity. And of course, help the women to step into that power that you've been talking about and to really shine and fully utilize our gifts and abilities and inspiration. Yeah. What advice would you give somebody who is seeking to use more of their own spiritual authority and autonomy?
Well, first, I would say you need to recognize that you have it, that you have personal authority over your life. And I remember a moment when I realized that. I was a freshman in college, and the prophet at the time had come out with To the Mothers of Zion talk about mothers being at home and not working. And there were lots of quotes about that. And my personal authority, my personal revelation was that I should go to school. I should go to grad school. I should continue to do my music and have a family. And so I had to decide, am I going to follow general authority or personal authority? And while I considered the general authority, I chose to follow my personal authority because the thought occurred to me, when I stand before my heavenly parents, I'm the only one who's going to be able to answer for my life. The prophet won't, my parents won't, my husband won't. I'm the only one who will be answering for what I did with my talents, with my gifts, with my personal revelation, with my life's missions. And so I chose personal authority when those conflicted. And that kind of started me on my own journey of claiming that on a regular basis, because that was kind of the first time where those things were in conflict. And for me, I'm so grateful that I followed personal revelation. My life is fuller, richer. I've been able to accomplish my life's missions, and I'm still doing that. And I have a family, and they're great, and I love them. And for me, it wasn't an either or. And I know that's not the case for everybody, and that's totally fine. It's personal revelation.
That is so inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Hanks, for following that and for being that example.
Thank you.
You're here because of it. That really kind of puts the power back into agency for me. Like, I feel that in the church, we talk about agency a lot, and that is something that is emphasized. But sometimes I feel that using your agency correctly means handing it over to the prophet or general authorities. Mm-hmm. And there's part of us that really wants to do that because it seems a little easier. Like you said, like, you're the one that has to account for your life in the end and not them. Mm-hmm. And so it would be nice to just be like, well, as long as I just did whatever somebody else said, then I was okay, you know, but the fruit of that isn't always really what our heavenly parents would hope for our lives, and the growing that happens when we have to think critically. And I love that you said, I considered what they said. I considered it. I didn't just say, I don't listen to those guys because, you know, I don't need that. Mm-hmm. There's a role in your life that you take them into consideration, but your relationship with your heavenly parents is paramount. And that is the guiding spirit that you then use your agency to discern. And anyway, I loved that. Thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome. It was pivotal. It was pivotal for me. And I also battled a lot of shame for a long time, that I wanted things that went against the prophet. Like, even though I did them, I still, like, there was still an emotional burden because I didn't fall in line. I didn't conform like I was supposed to.
Yes.
But I did it anyway.
Yes. So, I love my church. What advice would you give to me and other women that, I don't want to feel jaded. I don't want to grow a hard heart because I feel the importance of knowledge of her. And I wish that it was talked about. I wish that everybody would speak of her. But yeah, do you have any advice for me?
I would advise you to talk to your leaders and say, I have a request, and you get to choose whether you do it or not. But whenever possible, whenever appropriate, please include Heavenly Mother. It's really important to me. And here's an essay, and here's an article from BYU, a mother there that gives a lot of information about who she is. And this is important to me. This is part of my calling in life, is to speak of her. And if you could support me in that, that would be great.
I love that. It's again like claiming our own responsibility and our own authority of, this is what I want, and I'm going to make my desires known, and just taking it into our own hands.
Mm-hmm.
Kate and I, in December, we started a letter writing campaign to the female general leaders of the church. And as we've been doing that, some people have felt the desire to write a letter to the prophet as well. And we've encouraged them to go through their bishop and stake president, because usually those letters get sent back to them anyway. So we said, just work with them from the outset if you're going to take that route. And we've had stories coming in of people going in and sitting down and having a meeting with their bishop and or stake president. And some of those meetings haven't gone as they hoped, and they didn't felt seen or listened to. But others, they have seen light bulbs come on. They've been sharing the Girls and Boys Guide to Heavenly Mother, and they've had stake presidents flipping through this going, I need to get this for my young women president and then Relief Society president. I need to have this in my office. And even leaders starting to talk about Heavenly Mother in their ward conferences and state conferences. And so you just never know what kind of a difference a simple conversation like that can make. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see that a lot of leaders are really open to this. And I think those who aren't, maybe their first exposure, they might think, I don't know about that. They might be kind of closed off. But as they hear about it more and more and start to feel the truth and the power of this doctrine, I think we'll see more and more people embrace it in their own congregations. So I love that advice. And what would you say to those who do feel rejected or let down by a not so positive conversation?
It's important to recognize that not every leader is going to have the same calling that you have to speak of her. They might have other things. They're really into prayer. One of my previous bishops was very into sincere prayer. That was his thing. Everybody kind of has the thing they're called to speak about, and that's not going to be everybody's calling, and everyone's going to be receptive to it, and that's okay.
Thank you.
Can I just share a fun little teaser here?
Please.
So the Girls Guide and Boys Guide to Heavenly Mother. So it's MacArthur Krishna and Bethany Spalding. I have been working on a project with them relating to heavenly parents.
Woo.
So
that's
all
awesome.
I'm going to say. I'm one of the contributors, and it's going to be awesome.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. Something else to be excited about.
And this kind of goes back to my dissertation study of supporting creative productivity of mothers. It was very clear to me that we need more women's voices in in creating art, creating music, creating inventions, create whatever it is. We're all creators, and we need women's voices out there, not just at home. We need women's voices, because that is all part of this claiming our own power, is women's creative contributions. MacArthur and Bethany's, they're great examples of that. When we read Girl's Guide to Heavenly Mother with my then 13-year-old daughter, and she just wept the whole time. Just wept. Like, there's someone like me.
That is precious. That's what I want for all the girls in the church, to feel like they're represented. They have potential. They have a loving Heavenly Mother. That is so, so sweet. Is there anything else that you want to add about creating a dialogue around Heavenly Mother, or reaching out to leaders, or how to start conversations about her?
Part of our calling, I think, is to lead by example, to say Heavenly Parents, to talk about Heavenly Mother when you make comments or in church or giving a talk. I have a sister who went to her bishop and said, I would like to speak on Mother's Day of Heavenly Mother. Here are the sources. It's going to be all church approved, blah, blah, blah. And she gave a powerful talk about Heavenly Mother. And her ward choir sang another song that I wrote about Heavenly Mother. Oh. And so she basically said, look, this is, I'm willing to speak. Can I speak on this? So just taking the lead, taking opportunities to speak of Heavenly Mother.
Love that. Thank you.
This is new to me that you've written songs. So I would just love like a little peek into like, when did you start writing songs about Heavenly Mother, and what was that like? Because we used some of your words for your lyrics for the anchor. And
yeah. So I started writing songs in my late teenage years. I've produced over 10 albums and written hundreds of songs through the years. Yeah, some of them are on Spotify and Apple Music for streaming. Some of the older stuff isn't. But my Heavenly Mother, one of my Heavenly Mother songs, the one that I recorded, is available for streaming, Mother, Where Art Thou? And my music name is Julie Diazevedo. So that's what you would look under to find my music. But I've been a performing songwriter for 30 years too.
I knew that. My mom listened to you all the time when I was little. Growing up, we listened to you while we're getting ready for church on Sundays. So
Pray for Rain. Was it Pray for Rain
yeah.
CD?
Oh, yeah. Big Julie Diazevedo fans.
Yeah, that one, they just put it out on Spotify and Apple Music for the 25th anniversary of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
you're going to have to pull
you
it
can
up.
relive your past.
Yes. A new old Sunday tradition.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I love it. And I can't wait to listen to Mother, Where Art Thou?
New songs to add to my Heavenly Mother playlist. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So for our last question for you, we would love to hear, what is your vision and your hope for the women of the church and the church in general? What do you hope to see moving forward?
I think we're on a positive trajectory where we're at least wrestling with women's power, voice, authority. It's in conversations. It's kind of in the air. What I would like to see is women involved equally on every level in the church. And people say, well, how can we do that with the apostles or what? I'm like, they're married to high priestesses. If they're high priests, they're married. Like, why aren't we including, like, if they're a unit, a celestial unit, why aren't we including their partners in meetings and decisions and things like that? Like, we just don't think partnership yet, my husband's currently serving as bishop. And, I'm like, if you're a high priest, I'm a high priestess. But we can't say that. No one would dare say that. I guess I just did say that in public, but but like it only makes sense. But the fact that I feel bad for saying it is a problem because we don't really know what that means yet. And we need to flesh out what that means. Like we need more revelation about women's priestesshood.
Yes. Yeah. Sharon Eubank said, this is a new language. We need to keep trying to learn it, keep practicing, talking about it. And yeah, exactly. Just priestesshood right there. Thank you. And that really, I've seen that kind of begin in some ways. Like, I feel like it's gone from the companion or the wife of the leader, like giving a 5-minute talk before the devotional, to a lot more, just last year, actually, a lot of the apostles' face-to-faces have been with their wife as their companion, answering questions. And so I love seeing that. And that they, instead of just having another apostle as their companion, they're like, this is my real companion. And she has things to offer too, of course,
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
There's a lot that's happened. That's good. And there's so much more work to be done.
Yes.
Yep. I think that's true. And that's why we're all doing what we're doing, right?
Exactly.
We want to see that come into fruition. And I just invite everyone who's listening to think and pray about what your piece is in all of this, what you have to add, what you have to contribute, what ideas you have for your own ward, your own family, letters you want to write. What would you like to do? Who would you like to be in this sphere and in every area of your life? And I just really thank you, Dr. Julie Hanks, for being such a great example of seizing onto your own personal authority and taking responsibility, taking action, and just shining your light. I think that that's what Jesus meant when he said, don't hide your candle under a bushel. Even if the bushel looks soft and warm and more safe, we are here to shine. So thank you so much for being that example to us.
Thank you.
Dr. Julie Hanks, we really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom. And if our listeners would like to hear more from you or check you out online, where can they look for you?
So drjuliehanks.com. So drjuliehanks.com. I have a membership group that is LDS women that are questioning and kind of challenging the norms. And so we kind of support each other, and I do Q&As and group coaching and things like that. And there's a theme every month, like this month is finding your purpose. And it's really affordable. It's an affordable way to work with me and also have a community of like-minded women. Also at Dr. Julie Hanks on social media, particularly Instagram, is kind of one of my favorite spaces right now. And then if you are in the state of Utah or some of the surrounding states, wasatchfamilytherapy.com is my therapy practice. And I have 20 plus clinicians who are licensed in Utah and some in other states as well, if you need some professional therapy.
Thank you. And one thing, I don't think you mentioned this, but for our podcast listeners, you have a podcast, Ask Dr. Julie Hanks, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, there you go. I forgot that. Ask Dr. Julie Hanks podcast. Yeah. Wherever you can get me wherever. You'll be sick of me, right? Ask Dr. Julie Hanks podcast too.
You can hear, taste, smell, talk to.
Thanks so much, ladies. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
I really appreciate you. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it. And if you haven't yet, please leave us a review. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can make a monthly donation at anchor.fm/inherimage. You can also send us a voice message at the same website, sharing one of your stories about Heavenly Mother. We would love to hear it and might even share it in a future episode. We hope you'll tune in next Sunday for another inspiring episode.